How does being a world-class athlete and a world-class activist feed each other?
I never really see anything as separate. Just because I, step onto the field and put a jersey on, that doesn't mean I'm not who I am. And just because I, step off the field and take the jersey off doesn't mean I'm not an athlete either. To me, I feel like we need to, use the talents and the skills and the powers that we have to make the world a better place in whatever way we can be most effective. And for me, I was, born with this amazing talent in being an athlete. And so how do I leverage that off of the field? Clearly on the field, I'm trying to, be the best player that I can, and reach my potential. And I think off the field, I'm trying to do that as well. And, unfortunately for female athletes, for women, for gay women, for marginalized people, we aren't always afforded the opportunity or the landscape to reach our potential. Oftentimes there's roadblocks and barriers. And so I feel like, as important as it is for me to do everything I can to be the best player, I also feel that it's important for me to do that off of the field. And so if there's a barrier in the way, then I think I just kind of have to bust it down. And then, to extend beyond myself, obviously we live in a country that, loves its sports, certainly loves its American athletes, is probably a little bit too obsessed with celebrity. But how do I leverage all of that for good? I'm finding myself in a position with the microphone, or, winning awards, or being able to speak to people, or having people that are listening to me. So I feel a responsibility to, do what I can with what I have to try to make the world better in whatever way, I'm able to.
Also loves a winner, and you guys have been as successful as any team and kind of in American consciousness over the last decade or so. So I think that probably feeds a lot of it too. Where did this activism drive come from? I mean, in reading your book, which is great, your upbringing, in Redding, California, it wouldn't seem to lead itself naturally to being an activist.
Yeah, it's interesting. It doesn't really, but I think, during the process of writing the book and looking back on it and trying to, unpack how I ended up here and why I am the way that I am, from such a young age, my parents, and my mom specifically, made it very clear to my twin sister, Rachel, and I, that just because you're popular or you're good at sports or whatever, like that doesn't really mean anything. Like, you need to be a good person. There's something more than, just being good at sports or being popular or being that kid in school. Why don't you use that for something good? And actually, it's your responsibility to do that. So I think those sort of early seeds, albeit without the language or the word activist or any of that, we didn't really think about it like that or talk about it like that. I think those seeds were planted early. And then just, growing up, being able to mature on the women's national team around 24, 25 other elite women, coming out as gay, understanding and trying to understand the world better. And I guess just sort of getting some real life lessons in, pay equity, discrimination, gender equality. It's like, even for, LGBTQ plus people, like, we've been able to marry each other for 5 years in this country, we're going on 6 years. Like, that's nothing. We still have a long way to go. And so I think the more I learn, the more I see and understand it's really all connected. All of these injustices or, inequities and discriminations are sort of all connected. And so how do we leverage, the individual fights that we're all fighting for the sort of greater good of all of us?